We are recording. Welcome everyone to C. I'm Russ Schoen with Foresight, lead facilitator based in Evanston, Illinois. We're thrilled to have you here for our session, Building Teams That Outperform AI. Um, my role is really to introduce and to monitor the chat. If you have questions, drop them in. I'll be monitoring that and sharing as appropriate. And with that, I want to turn it over to Sarah Thurber, our managing partner. I think you're in for a treat today in terms of the changing landscape of AI and what you can do to be proactive to manage it. So, Sarah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Russ. It is a pleasure to be here. And I have to say, this topic is such a moving target. And what we've got is coming in real time. And so this is not a highly rehearsed speech or anything, but it is well rehearsed. So I mean, it is well researched and things continue to move. So I hope you will understand it in that context. I'll start with a story of our son Cole, who in first grade, it was pretty clear Cole was having trouble reading. It wasn't coming to him. And we brought him tutors and we set him up to get the reading working. But Cole really couldn't read by the end of first grade or by the end of second grade or third grade. And he knew he was smart because he loved space and he would tell you all kinds of facts and information about space. And he was very social and very fun and such a good kid. But the reading and writing wasn't coming. So finally, we got him into a school that served kids who have dyslexia. And for 2 years, he studied and he was able to go to high school and able to get into an engineering college. And ultimately, he was able to get his dream job working at NASA, making spacesuits. I mean, this guy was so over the moon about this job. And he would report in that everything was going well and he was working really hard because what he had brought to this job was all of the stuff that school didn't really give him. It was all the stuff that his parents, who are experts in creative problem solving and collaboration and those tools, which sadly we drilled into him from a very young age. He was really trying to use those to work with people and collaborate with people and build, solutions across divisions and across teams. And so he was really concerned when he got a call from his boss's boss to please come to my office. It was like he was pretty new to this place and he really wanted to do well. So he showed up at his boss's office, and the guy said, Cole, we have noticed that you are a very good problem solver and very good at working with other people and collaborating even across functions. And we're here because we'd like for you to join the AI committee at this agency. And it was a subcontractor of NASA, so it's not NASA, but a subcontractor of NASA. And Cole thought, oh my gosh, I would love to do that. He loves AI. He was really interested in this work. And there were, 75 people in the building, and he was really proud to be part of it. And the guy said, no, not for the building, for the organization of 10,000 people. So he called home super proud, not so much that he'd got that committee, but that he'd been recognized for the skills of creative problem solving and collaboration that he'd been taught his whole life long, as those were the skills that people in big organizations recognized as really quite necessary to bring AI online and make it work. Because his charge then was to be on the governance committee doing security and oversight, but also to help people understand what their work was and what AI could do to improve their work. It was really his ability to do metacognition that put him apart. And honestly, that's not something he learned in school. We know that because he really never learned very much in school. So it was this set of skills that we teach uh, coming from Buffalo State University, where both Russ and I got a degree. And it is this set of skills that I think is going to be incredibly important to bring AI into the workplace and build teams that outperform AI. Not that they don't use AI, but that they actually produce better work than AI can do alone. So that's what we're going to talk about. We are so excited to be part of CEE, the Creativity Expert Exchange. This is a community that believes in the power of the human mind to create a better future. And as the managing partner at Foresight, we are a team performance accelerator. We're based in Chicago, and we serve companies and governments and teams all over the world, um, training them to think better together and use these tools of metacognition. So at Foresight, our work is all based on the science of creativity and collaboration. And our partners all have degrees from Buffalo State University. Um, and our work is really taking the research coming from the field of creativity and bringing it to organizations at scale. And today, given that organizations are really struggling with this AI question, we're going to be talking about building teams that outperform AI and giving you strategies to achieve that. So, as I said, this is a brand new speech because it is really coming in real time. So I'm going to be looking at notes here and there, but I hope you'll bear with me on that. Let me share my screen so you can see what I'm thinking about. These are light notes, but still you'll get the idea. So, um, going back to before AI, a time we can barely remember, in November 2022, AI was a huge surprise, but really until November 2022, I think the creativity community really thought we were probably safe from technology, from the sort of automation of things that was happening. And it was in 2022 that that changed. After its release, November 2022, AI generated 1 million users in 5 days. That is the largest, fastest uptake of any technology on record. By early 2025, it served over 400 million weekly active users. Wow. It's worth noticing that that trajectory of change was sort of similar and mapped to the trajectory of improvement of the AIs that we're talking about. Because in 2022, when Cole came home and opened his computer and said, "Look at this, you won't believe it. It'll answer these questions." We're like, uh-huh, that's great. That's really super. But by 2025, we were using it to help us write essays and think strategy and do all kinds of things. So the leveling up of people sort of tracks the leveling up of the effectiveness of the AI. So my question to you, if you would put in chat, it'd be great for us to understand sort of what your familiarity is with AI. So in chat, will you put on a scale of 1 to 10, like what's your AI IQ? How familiar are you with AI? One is like, don't know it, don't have, never touched it, not interested. And 10 is love it, use it, can't wait to use more of it. Good, good. We've got some range. Range is good. Great, great. Fives, tens, zeros, sevens, avoider. Love this. This is great. Okay. Hi, Greg. Um, so so let's set the scene. Um, in in ATD, so last May, I went to the Association of Talent Development Conference in Washington, D.C. There are 9,000 professionals in talent development there. They gather every year. They talk about what's relevant for training and upskilling people in organizations. There are hundreds, maybe 400 different sessions going on. And in 2025, fully half of them were about AI. I was surprised that there were that many. It was still early in my uh, journey in AI, and I realized, boy, if I want to speak at this conference next year, I have to talk about AI. So I set myself up to talk about AI, and then I really had to go to school on it. And um, as a past freelance writer, uh, I know the drill. I started interviewing people, I started reading books, I started interviewing people who are in corporations, in government, governance committees, in organizations, in talent development places, uh, experts on AI who have authored books, um, talk to people who run AI consultancies. So the information gathered here is a real mashup of that personal research as well as, you know, online research that we can all get at, which is great. Um, so this is sort of what we're finding, that the technology is improving fast, and there is a huge push in companies to use it because the promise of AI is such that organizations are really forced, whether they really like it or not, to try to figure out how to achieve some of the productivity gains from this. So 68% of large companies plan to invest between 50 million and 250 million over the next year. That's just per company. The total global AI spending projected at 1.5 trillion in 2025. You can see a lot of different numbers. I'm not sure that's the exact number, but I'm using these numbers to give you scale, and they did come off the internet. But again, going forward, we'll get all these pinned down with all the exact references, but I want to set the stage so you understand there's a huge amount of pressure in organizations to go into AI. And there's also some initial research from schools and from organizational experts that this AI uptake, which is so promising and so fun, actually has some really shadow sides. Um, it tends to work best for people on the low end of the organization who really don't have very many skills. It gives them the illusion of competence. And it works really well for people on the high end of the expertise scale because it gives them the ability to produce more work faster at a very high level. Um, but I was speaking to a woman who was a middle school teacher, and she left middle school teaching a couple years ago to join Buffalo State University. It's Michaela Ackbauer. And she said it was shocking to see in the classroom students just using AI because they knew it would give them a better result than if they tried to do the assignment by themselves. So again, it was giving them the illusion of competence, but she said they were really just giving up their thinking to AI. And the risk, which she saw, but has also been now chronicled, and this was in the Harvard Gazette, that there's a risk of cognitive atrophy, where the more you press the button, the less you have to do the work of thinking. And frankly, the less you exercise your own thinking muscle. So we're doing the bad part first. We're doing the doomsday first. It gets better, but this is really a problem. Um, you know, organizations are sort of all in on this effort to go full AI. And some organizations went 2 feet in Zillow in, Russ, do you remember the year? It was like 2022. They decided they were going to let AI do their purchasing, and they used AI to do a whole algorithm to decide what companies to buy or what houses to buy, and they were able to buy them much faster than humans on the market, and ended up losing $500 million because the AI algorithm just wasn't as good at judging what was a good house as a human being was. And so they ended up buying things that really didn't have great value. Um, I spoke with one woman who used to be the head of leadership development at a Fortune 500 company. And she said, oh, my job has totally just been changed. I've been pulled off. I am now just doing AI uptake for this company. I'm working directly with the tech team, and they're in charge. You can imagine being people who are schooled in thinking and collaborative and creative problem solving. how successful that is likely to be. Having your tech team uh, bring AI and train everybody in AI in the company. Not great. She didn't think it was great, and she was the one in charge. So it, people are in a tough situation, but it's not like they can avoid it. So there's a lot of worry, not only that AI is uh, making people frantic, like people in organizations, like suddenly having to do it. It's also making people dumber, potentially, with AI atrophy, but it's also undermining trust in organizations. Um, there are a lot of people who want to use AI, aren't sure if they should be using AI, are afraid if they do figure AI hacks that they're going to lose their job because they're going to make themselves obsolete. So if you think of the importance of Amy Edmondson's work of psychological safety, of like that's what makes teams strong. AI is really threatening to undermine that because AI is going to maybe take your job or maybe make you do a different job or certainly disrupt whatever it is you do. So psychological safety itself is at risk. And when I spoke to Cole, who's really my featured guy here, although certainly not the only person I interviewed, but he said, Mom, AI won't take your job, but somebody who knows how to use AI will. Because organizations, again, have to move in this direction. This is not going to stop, and it's not going to back up. We'll find out things that don't work. We'll redirect, but the trajectory itself is moving forward. So, that the optimists see AI as coming in and really helping do the work we don't want to do, take all the sort of grunt work off our shoulders so that we can focus on more important, more strategic thinking. But the reality is, from research done by companies that are monitoring email and monitoring what work is getting done, what work is the work that's shifting is humans have to do more emails. Humans have to do more communication and shuffling things back and forth. It isn't that we're doing more deep thinking. It isn't that we're doing more deep work. So that is really all super concerning. Um, the other thing that's tricky and worrying people is this month, Fortune magazine published research that the impact of artificial intelligence indicates a significant ongoing shift where white collar knowledge workers, rather than blue collar manual workers, face the highest risk of job disruption and task automation in the 2024-2026 period. That was this month. So it's a very real threat at some level that AI is going to make us dumber. It's going to make us actually do more menial tasks, and it's going to take over our world. That said, it it is not, this is not the time to panic because AI can help us build better teams and better organizations. And if that's the question we're asking, we're going to do okay. So the question now is how to think responsibly with AI. Um, And the good news is, well, so in part, one of the pieces of research that I think this group will be particularly interested in is after the conference in May at ATD, I spoke with Gerard and I said, Gerard, this AI thing is really going to happen, and it's really going to happen to us, to Foresight. We talk about thinking and thinking preferences. We train people in metacognition, but like, what's going to happen when AI is doing all that? And he said, I was I was in London and speaking to somebody who is at Bayes Business School, and they told me about a piece of research that was done there where they pitted AI against humans. And of course, Gerard, who is the chairman of the Department for Creativity and Change Leadership at Buffalo State University, and who's done all the seminal research on foresight to help us understand thinking and thinking preferences. Like Gerard, too, is watching AI pretty carefully, saying, is this going to take over our thinking? Is this a threat to human creativity? And he said, there's this study at Bayes where they took a group of toy designers and they asked them to come up with toy designs. And then they gave the same assignment, a prompt, to AI. And they had a committee to judge. And fingers crossed, like it was going to be the humans that were going to come up with the better idea. But it was AI that the judges felt came up with the better toy design idea. Shocking, concerning, and for this community, really threatening. Like, wait, AI is now doing creative thinking? That is a big problem. So then there was some additional thinking, like what happens when AI is doing our creative thinking? And is there a way we can train humans to do a better job thinking than AI? So they redid this same experiment. And this time they trained the toy designers in creative problem solving and let them work as a team. And this time, when the judges were presented with options of which was the better toy design, it was the team of toy designers schooled in creative problem solving that won. And I think that for us, for this community, is really important to keep in mind because AI is coming like a house of fire. It's taking over organizations, it's taking over schools, it's taking over our own thinking and our own desk work, and we're all trying to figure it out. But so we're not going to stop that. But what we can change is how we manage it. And so one of the things that's important to do when you're up against, what can feel like the enemy, I hope not to most people, but sometimes it does, is follow the advice of the ancient wisdom, which is when you're at war, which AI sort of feels like at moments, if you don't know yourself and you don't know your enemy, you will lose every time. If you know your enemy, but don't know yourself, you will lose 50% of the time. But if you know yourself and you know your enemy, you will win 100% of the time. Now, AI is only our enemy if we treat it as a replacement for our thinking. But it is a real asset and an incredible amplifier of good thinking if we stay in the seat of doing good thinking. So for a minute, I'd love to look at the research that we've done at Foresight, and that comes also from from State University of New York, Buffalo State University, on first how humans think, and then the new information about how AI thinks. So humans first. Here's the research that Foresight has helped develop about how humans think. What we know is that to solve a complex problem, it really takes four very different types of thinking. You need to clarify the problem to understand what it is, like what important information you need to understand, where it comes from, and to clarify what's the right problem to solve. So that's clarify. But then you need to ideate, like what are all the ways you could solve it? Very different kind of thinking. So you clarify and then you ideate to come up with new ideas that maybe haven't been tried, or take old ideas and smash them together to get new connections and come up with promising ways that might work to solve the challenge. But ideas aren't enough. Much as those of us who love to ideate wish they were, ideas are only good when you take the best ones and develop a really smart plan that works in the environment that you're living in. And even a plan is not enough. So you clarify, you ideate, you develop, but then you have to take that plan and implement it, make it happen, make it live in the world. But when you put those four types of thinking together, clarify, ideate, develop, and implement, you get sort of this attractive baseball diamond. And if you think of it as a baseball diamond, you need to touch all the bases to get a home run solution. And if you do that, you will get a home run solution. This simple framework, which we call the Foresight framework, but is really a universal problem-solving process. It's simple, it's science-based, and it works like a charm. It really only has one problem: users. Because human beings, us, our brains play favorites. We have thinking preferences. Some of us like to clarify. We want to stay in that problem-solving space where we're understanding the problem. Some of us like to ideate and we want to come up with new ideas and take an original approach. Some of us like to develop and like, wait, wait, wait. Let's weigh the best plan. Let's look at all the options. Let's formulate a perfect solution. And some of us, and I must say most of us, because this is about 30+% of the population, likes to implement. Let's just do it and see if it works. And if it works, great, we're on with it. So that in a nutshell, that's how humans like to think. And when we use creative problem solving to make sure when we clarify, we think of all of the data and think of all the ways to look at the problem before we choose how we're going to look at the problem. And when we ideate, we diverge and look at all of the ideas that might help us solve the problem before we choose and develop all the plans and iterations of how we could put a solution together before we make the solution. And when we implement, we try everything. We just do it all and try to see what we throw spitballs at the wall and see what sticks. So that's humans and that's humans on creative problem solving. Very, very different than how AI thinks. AI, there are different types of AI. There are AIs with big data, there are AIs using other things, but most of the AIs that we're exposed to right now are chatbots and are based on what's called the large language model. Many of you know this already, but let me go through it for people who don't know. So, a large language model is word-based. It's not bits and bobs. It's not ones and twos. Ultimately, it's ones and twos, but like really at the level of thinking, it's word-based. What AI is doing, well, let me tell you what AI thinks it's doing in its own language. I love this. I asked AI to explain what an LLM is, and it's what it said. Um, a large language model, or LLM, is a type of AI that has read a massive amount of text and learned patterns in language so that it can understand questions and generate human-like responses. It doesn't think like a person, clearly, but it predicts the most like this is the part that blows me away. It predicts the most likely next word based on everything it has learned. And it does that so well, it feels like a conversation. I ran into research recently that it's not the next word, it's the next three letters. Like AI thinks in three-letter increments and has so much vast knowledge of patterns that it can predict the next three letters it should put together in whatever it's going to spit out for you to see. That's incredible. Um, so imagine giving, this is more AI. Imagine giving a computer access to millions of books, articles, websites, and conversations, and instead of memorizing them, it studies patterns, how ideas connect, how tone changes in context. And from those patterns, it learns to answer questions, summarize information, which it can do really well, generate ideas, which it's surprisingly good at with some caveats, and rewrite content. It's really good at doing those things. It's still a little clunky, but the truth is, it's getting better so fast that what we know and say about it right now will have to be adjusted in 3 months and 3 months after that. So the version of AI that you are using, people like to say, is the worst version of AI you'll ever see. Think of that. It's only going to get more sophisticated. So let me just say, AI is confusing. I'm going to turn off my I'm going to stop sharing my screens for a second, and if everybody will just jump on camera, if you don't mind. Um, I have a little like questionnaire for you. This is a physical questionnaire, so it works much better if everyone's on camera. Hi, everybody. It's really nice to see you. Um, so the question is, like, when you have used AI, in your experience using AI, have you ever used it and it's produced something like, wow, amazing for you. Like thumbs up, two thumbs up if AI has produced wow, amazing stuff for you ever, even one time. Okay. And yeah, for me too. Okay. And then has AI ever produced work that's like meh? Like really? It's like stewed cabbage. Like I spent all this time and this is what I get. Has AI ever done that for you? Thumbs down if it's done that for you. Yeah, me too. Okay, so, and this is sort of the point. Jazz hands if AI has done both things for you. Let's just see if we have serious jazz hands in the house. Yeah, this I think is most people's experience of AI. And it's so confusing. Like, wait a minute, what? Yesterday I used it and it solved my whole problem. Like I was able to write a email in 36 seconds. Like it was amazing. But today I'm just getting schlock. And what is going on there? So I feel like I have been personally wrestling with this and trying to figure out an analogy for this. And finally, again, it goes back to my son Cole. Cole has saved the day on my analogy for AI. And I actually called him to ask permission. Can I use this story, Cole, to talk about AI? And he said yes. So, as those of you who were here when we just started heard, my son Cole is dyslexic and went through elementary school unable to read. Very, very tough time. And ended up working for NASA, so it's okay. He's great. But and he's on an AI governance committee, which is why he's relevant. But the reason this piece is relevant is that when we got him tested to see like what is going on, he was a little boy, and we worked with the tester who gave him a battery of maybe 30 different tests. And his IQ came up fantastic. But all of his other scores were kind of all over the map. And the tester explained something that's been very useful for me to understand. For kids with learning disabilities or learning differences, instead of having scores that clump, that sort of cluster, which most of us do, if you have an IQ that's here on the scale, all your other scores will kind of fall right around it. Kids with learning disabilities, their scores are kind of all akimbo. They're all over the place and they're unpredictably all over the place. And I feel like AI is a little bit like that. There's stuff that's amazing at, there's like breathtaking at, and then there's stuff that is so incredibly meh or disappointing or just straight up wrong. And what are we supposed to do with that? And I feel like one of the takeaways here is that we need to take AI as where it is right now, which is sort of as a brain with significant learning differences. It clearly has significant thinking differences, right? It doesn't think like we do, and it doesn't augment its thinking like we do, but it does think in its own way. And the better we can understand how it thinks, the more we are likely to produce better thinking out of AI. So let me go back to my slides. I have no idea where I'll end up because, as I said, we're really making this work happen in real time. So this is a new slideshow for me. Okay, but we landed well. So basically, AI has this split where there's good AI, like it can help us detect cancer on scans. It can forecast the weather better than we've ever been able to do. It can fix quantum computing errors and translate in real time. I mean, Google Translate. Literally, we were in Germany in January, and Blair sat through a whole conference listening to it in German because it was translating in real time over his headphones. That's amazing, and that's never been possible before in this way for this many people. And AI is making that possible. And driving cars, like, woo, super amazing. I was in California, watching these cars go by with all kinds of gears and blips and blobs on them, and no driver. Shocking. But there. And then there's bad AI. It makes things up. It aims to please. It's very poor at math. I mean, think about that. The AIs we're offering using are large language models. They are not large numbers models. They actually don't do basic arithmetic very consistently well. Um, they can't switch context. If you give AI a picture of Kim Kardashian, it can recognize Kim Kardashian. But if you turn the picture upside down, it thinks she's a cat. I mean, it's just imperfect and it's not there yet, but parts of it are amazing. But it also has zero judgment. And again, maybe they'll correct it, maybe that will change, but right now, AI does not have the ability to do what humans do, to understand the context, to understand the social and emotional context, to understand the subtleties of difference between ideas and which will work and which will not. AI can help us in incredible ways and really is not going to be great at helping us in other ways. Um, Russ, do you want in chat, do you want to do the good AI, bad AI experiment? In chat, how about we do this? In chat, will you list uh, good AI experiences you've had? Like, where have you used AI that it's done kind of awesome stuff for you? And just let's see what we get. And Russ, will you read? Because somehow I'm not able to see this chat. Oh, there we go. I can see.
Editing a speech. I'll kick it off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. While
Other
you guys are working, I will say when I was in Germany, I used AI as a travel agent. I had a day and a half where I was between cities and I didn't know where to go or if there was a beautiful thing I should go see. And I asked AI and said, we're a couple, we want to go walk around, we want to be in an old city. And it sent us to Strasbourg for 2.5 days and said, here's 6 hotels, these are cheap, these are by the train station, these are really romantic. Here are 10 gluten-free restaurants because you need that. And here's a day-long itinerary. And we literally just printed it out and went. It was amazing. It was great. That's mine.
Yeah, so
Russ, what
Sarah,
else
we
have we got?
had a bunch. Editing a blog, AI to build my own chat, GPTs as personal assistants, checking emails for tone, writing text, idea generation, Divergent. Uh, got 50 sheets of top 10 things to answer my PhD, editing, checking for grammar, etc.
That's fantastic. And a lot of those are tactical, but some of them move into the more systems based stuff. But that's super cool. And I agree. Those are some amazing uses. What about bad AI? Where has it failed you? Like where does it not seem to be delivering on its promise?
For some writing, not accurate references, how many R's in strawberry, graphics, synthetic personas, consistent thematic analysis of qualitative data, another analysis of data. It hallucinates. Oh, where did that go? It hallucinates, especially when finding citations. Um, Someone sending me their bio, I didn't recognize them in it. Lyrics for music composition, creating new and unique variations of ad headlines, etc., etc.
Wow. Amazing. So there we are, this incredibly uneven performance of AI. And it's really confusing because we don't necessarily talk to each other about that or have a mental model for why that's happening. But I hope this gives you some kind of mental model for why that's happening. AI is not thinking the way you do. It's thinking, it's aimed to please, and it's coded to please. They want to keep you on AI. But as Cole points out, Mom, AI doesn't want anything. It doesn't have ideas. It all it needs is energy and data. You're the one doing all the thinking. And that's the important thing for us to keep in mind. That we're the ones doing all the thinking, and AI can really help us think and really support some interesting thinking and good thinking. But I will say in the bad AI column story, I asked Gerard if he'd had any experience like bad AI experiences. And he was like, well, actually, I was hired by an organization to do research about like, does this particular activity boost creativity? And I really wanted to find like an article that just said it. Yes, this research boosts, creativity, or this activity boosts creativity. And he said, I looked at dozens of articles, I read dozens of articles, and it did all the citation, and they were close, they were kind of vectoring in. And then I thought, okay, just to make sure I've covered the waterfront, I'm going to check with AI. Like, I'm going to ask AI, what are the research studies and how would AI summarize it? So he put in that prompt, and AI spit back a list of a lot of the stuff. I mean, really, all the studies he'd already researched. So he was like, oh, that's such good news. And then he noticed that in one of the studies, it basically said, no, this activity increases creativity. And he thought, what? How did I miss that? And he went back, pulled that research study, which he already printed out, went through the whole thing. It didn't say that. It never said that. So AI had an uncanny ability to anticipate what would please him, which is part of the programming. And it delivered that, which was very pleasing, but would have been very concerning because it wasn't true. So again, the expert and the thinker in you, super important that he used it as a check and that he was able to confirm the knowledge. It was good. It was good because it could have pointed him to other research that he had missed, but it also pointed him to just false information. So here's where AI shines. We've talked about all the things that it doesn't do and some of the things it does do. One of the books I found most helpful in this research was reading Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick. And it basically shows that AI, in the scale of being precise answers versus in the scale of giving lots of possible answers, where do you predict it would land? Not in the precise, right? And on the cross scale of having good judgment and discerning versus generating lots, yeah, I see you, Roger. Generation, you're totally right. AI lives there. That's really where it shines. If you're looking for, there are lots of possible answers to this question, and it doesn't have to be mathematically precise or follow a perfect algorithm or get the image precise where there's actually a short girl and a tall girl and then the guy wearing the black sweater. Like somehow that's really hard for it. But if you can just need a picture that could be a picture of three people, it can do that great. Here in this quadrant, judgment and precision requires careful oversight and maybe big data models that are based in numbers, not in LLM speak. Over here in generation, doing good prompts will get you much better generation. So using the stages of the process, like when you're clarifying, it's going to want to jump to solutions. When you're clarifying, ask it for data, ask it for all the data, and ask it what it thinks the key data is. Help it diverge and help it converge. And when you're coming up with what's the right problem to solve, ask it to frame 10 problems. How might we, what are all the ways we might, using your prompts, ask AI to do that kind of thinking. But let me say, ask it after you've done an initial run at that thinking, because you don't want your brain to atrophy either. And I don't want your brain to atrophy. And ultimately, down with good judgment and options in this quadrant, what I've seen in my personal experience is that the better my input, the better its output. And again, your thinking is critical to the success of its thinking. And Russ, I know we're kind of at time. Should we just ask questions and do a wrap?
I believe so.
Okay.
If folks are interested, I know you've got a lot more. If you're
Of course.
interested though we have a thinking manifesto and
Oh, yeah.
additional info, drop your email here. We won't sell it or whatever, but we'll just follow up with some things that are interesting. And Sarah, I think you should explain what's on your screen.
Yeah. So yesterday,
We can close
well,
with that.
actually, this Sunday, I met with Cole again. I was like, I'm interviewing you officially as an interview subject. So do that. And he was like, no, Mom, we need to create something using AI to code it. So I was like, okay, great. So he had me code myself on my computer an amazingly interesting survey of how far behind the curve, the AI curve, is your company. So if you have a company or you're part of a company and you're interested in AI adoption, put your email in the chat. I would love to show you this and bring you through it and talk about if it's good, if it's not good, but it's already helped our company. realize, oh, wow, we are short here and doing well here. But part of what it says is AI adoption is not just getting the tools and using the tools, it's teaching people in the organization at every level how to think, how to use metacognitive skills to take advantage of those tools, and how to communicate across companies so that those ideas and those new innovations can be used at scale. So, sort of the bottom line is the thinking that we have been taught to do in this work as creative problem solvers is more valuable than ever. Um, and it's important that you don't get cowed by AI and it's doing our thinking and no one's going to use this anymore. The work we do needs to come on board with AI. And I hope that all of you will be part of helping that happen. We've written a thinking manifesto from the point of view of Foresight, like what we can think, how we can think better with AI, and how we can build teams to outperform AI. If you would like a copy of that, it still needs polishing, so I don't have it. But write your email in chat, and we'd love to share it with you, and love to keep in this conversation with you. I hope this has been valuable and useful, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, everyone. That's going to officially wrap, but we'll hang out for a few minutes
Definitely.
if anyone has any questions.
Definitely.